I'm going to be brutally honest with you. This game has absolutely taken me by surprise, and I'm a little bit behind the curve because it has been out for almost 2 weeks now, but I don't know where it's come from, but it's actually quite good. So I thought I'd do like a cheeky little video on it just to show off what the game's like, because I don't think a lot of people have heard of this, because I don't see a lot of people making content on it. I've seen a few people, but not a huge amount. The game's currently available on mobile, PC and PS5. On PC, it is coming to Steam eventually, but you will currently have to download it through the developer's website. Now, apparently this game had like a closed beta about a year ago and people enjoyed it and then just heard nothing. And then all of a sudden it dropped. So I don't really know much of the history of this one. The only thing I know about it is this is supposed to be considered a prequel or something to the developer's other game, which is not a 2D side-scrolling gacha, in the form of Phantom Blade, I think it's Zero. And I knew I'd heard that name from somewhere, and it turns out Phantom Blade Zero is that weird sort of kung fu punk, as they're describing it, game that was revealed at the State of Play, I think earlier in the year. I think it was State of Play, where it showed off some really cool animations and gameplay which didn't really look like gameplay at all, controversially. But I remember really liking the design. Yeah, it took me by surprise that they've made a gacha game alongside it. I don't know if they had a separate team or what, but as far as the game goes, I'm very impressed with what they've managed to put out. Let's just have a quick delve into some of the systems and then we'll get into the combat. As with any gacha game, you of course have your, you have your dailies and whatnot you can claim. They can't be avoided, unfortunately. You've got your events currently going on. There is an event that isn't up for much longer where you can unlock, important stuff like costumes and this thing, memories, which essentially just allows you to pick a phantom, which is the gacha, which we'll get into in a bit. So obviously it has a pretty standard event system. There's a lot of stuff going on. It does the typical mobile game gacha style thing where it just throws a ton of resources at you, and because there's so many, you don't really know what to do with them, so you kind of just don't. The game also has a cooking system. It's a pretty standard cooking system. You make food, you gain a set bonus for a little while. It's cooking, it's whatever. A lot of gacha games do that nowadays. There's the gear shop, which I imagine is just a horrific misuse of money most of the time. There's the premium shop, which is quite expensive, I feel, for what you get. For instance, you could pay 200 for one costume, and 200 I think is about a tenner. 200 is almost £20. So £20, give or take, gets you about one costume. Don't get me wrong, I do really like this skin. This is probably my favorite of the ones we can see. I'm not paying almost £20 for it. That's absolutely bonkers. Unfortunately, the game does make use of an energy system. I have always and will always test energy systems. One thing I will say about this game is, despite the game's attempts at making use of its energy system, I have yet to go past the maximum limit, because the game has gives you so much energy to start with, and your energy seems to be character specific, which I don't know if is an error or not, rather than account wide. And we'll get into why that's weird in a minute, but it is just very odd. But yeah, the game just throws energy at you right now, and I have yet to hit anywhere near zero. It might just be because I'm near the beginning of the game, but the game just doesn't have you use a lot of energy. Or maybe I've just not been playing enough, who knows. In terms of story, I can't really speak for the game. It seems interesting. I'm sure some people will be interested in it. There is some pretty glaring spelling errors and whatnot in some of the writing, and the voice acting, at least on the English side of things, leaves a lot to be desired. I can't say I really care for it, but let's be honest, it's not why. At least it's not why I'm playing the game. Here we have the summon system. Now, in most gacha games, you normally summon for new characters. In this game, it is a little bit different. You summon for something known as a phantom. Now, what are phantoms? Now, phantoms are essentially little bonuses you put onto a particular skill to do something a little extra special. So what we'll do is we'll do a cheeky little temple. One thing I will say about the summons is the summon animation has a weirdly low bitrate. I don't know if that's just me, but I've seen it both on the mobile version, the PS5, And now the PC, it's weirdly low bitrate. I don't quite get why. I would like it to be resolved if they can. The game is still fairly new, so there is a lot they can fix. As far as pulls go, I'll be honest, this is not looking... Oh! Life Reaver, okay. Okay, we'll use this guy as an example when we're done. Right, okay, so we've done a 10 pull. You got some new characters, you got some fodder, and I don't actually know what this is. Redeem for rare... Oh, it's just like Stardust in Genshin. Right, so we've pulled a Phantom. So what do you actually get with a Phantom? So they can become part of a set if you do have both Phantoms equipped to a set. You get, you know, a cheeky little bonus, which is really nice. You can also see their story if you so desire. When you have that Phantom equipped, you will get, you know, the bonus in the middle that says character HP plus 110. But then also, whenever you use your skill, this will happen. So whenever I use whichever skill he is assigned to, I will summon 2 assistants to fight for you for 150 seconds. Every 150 seconds, my word. So essentially, Phantoms are ways to improve your skills. And we will talk about skills right now. So here we are. This is the skills list, or at the very least, this is the combo list. So the way skills work in this game is that they can be completely interchanged. So each character, of which there are 4, has a ton of different skills you can pick and choose from, and you can have them in any order you desire. So for instance, if I wanted to start off with that weird dragon attack, I can. And then if I wanted to change that to this one, I can do exactly that. And now when I do that combo, which should be triangle, do the dragon, and then we'll do that. And then, you know, it carries on from there. And then you can finish the combo as you so desire. Now what you can see is last time when I did the dragon attack, some weird purple crystals came out. And that is because I had a Phantom equipped. Now that I've taken him off, nothing happens. So if we put him back on, and then we do dragon, crystals come out. So essentially, every single attack, every single skill in the game, you can attune someone to it. So for this person, enemies hit by the sync skill take 8% more damage for the next 4 seconds. So for instance, I could have this at the beginning of my combo, and then it just produces a chain link effect of damage bonuses and build-ups. For instance, if I wanted a skill set that only did aerials, I could select a skill like this one, which has +5 attack until you touch the ground, and then I could combo a bunch of different Phantoms to increase my attack, increase my damage in the air, to, you know, I've got this bad boy down here who keeps people within range while doing damage, and you can just go along the line and just do more and more damage. For instance, I also have this combo which pretty much just attacks everything on the entire screen, and it works so phenomenally well. But then if you don't want to do that, if you want to have a more healing centered build, you can. If you want to have something where you summon characters every single time, like with Life Healer, you can have someone summon some damage, you can have a healer summon some healers. Or if you want to make a bleed team, or if you want to make a fire-based team, or if you want to make a shield break team to break through enemy shields, you can. The Phantom system is honestly the main reason to keep playing. The Phantom system, the fact that every person can be attuned to just a combo that you design, that you personally feel is the strongest or most enjoyable, is absolutely phenomenal. And I love the combat system in this game so very much. It is so very fun, and it is just condensed with content. Now, the game admittedly definitely needs some polishing here and there. It's not the smoothest or cleanest experience of gachas out there, but just the main gameplay loop is honestly, to me, very impressive. Weirdly enough though, since you're not pulling characters, you have access to all 4 characters in the game at any point. So you have Zushang, Sol, Mu Xiaokuei, and the Cord. I've not tried out Zushang or Mu Xiaokuei, just because the game does this thing that I don't like. I'm going to say it now, I don't like it at all. It's a faff and I don't like it. Weird thing, depending on how high your like account is, essentially, how high everyone's levels are, you'll get more organization level and you'll get buffs for every character. It's a weird little thing, but it's nice to have, I guess. This, again, this just demonstrates how like poorly the game is optimized in some areas. For some reason, this scene just loops and it's the same on every version I tried. But anyway, let's jump into the chord. So this is the chord. So of course the chord she'll have her own basic attacks. That's fine. Oh, I also failed to mention that there's a sprint and there's a dodge and there's a block. There is a parry system. There is I think there's a perfect dodge system as well. Perfect parrying is very satisfying, I will admit. With, you know, different characters that come with different skills, which means you can have completely different builds. With the chord, I really want to try making like a vacuum build where everyone just gets like sucks into a ball and then she just keeps them there and then just, you know, constant damage. Again, just a general demonstration of how much, you know, you can get out of the game's combat systems. If you see here, if we go into my inventory, I don't have any gear. The energy level is completely different. My currency and everything is completely different. My event progression, it's completely different to my other character's soul. I simply don't understand why they've spread everything out for each character. To a degree, I get it. Each character should probably have their own gear and that kind of thing. The weird thing is stuff that should sort of share doesn't. So the battle pass for Shade, for some reason I can't see it, but I know it's level 1, but with Soul it's level 2. It's a weird thing. And then you don't share phantoms. So each character has their own purchases and whatnot, which implies that if you want to buff a character, you can only, if you want to spend money on a character and improving them for their gacha and whatnot, you can't do it on all of your characters, or you can't share them. You just have to have it for that one, and it's really odd. And I don't love it. For instance, I have Past Master and I have Mecha Emperor and I have Ruthless Black. I have these characters for the chord only, but I don't have it for Soul, who I'd consider my main at this point. It treats it more like an MMO and less like a gacha. So instead of you switching out characters and then improving a character individually, it's kind of like your character is each character is its own separate account. But then it means if you want to go hard on a second character, you have to spend like an insane amount of time doing their stuff as well as your main. It's really weird. I don't like it at all. And that's honestly the thing that stops me from playing the other two characters, is that the idea of dedicating an insane amount of time to 4 characters to get the job done is unbelievable. I think the game wants you to try all 4 of them out, pick one, and then go from there. But then again, it kind of misrepresents itself when it has that sort of collector bonus where you get rewarded for having higher level characters. Maybe it's to try and boost your lower characters when you do finally decide, oh, I'll go and play them. But in a gacha where you kind of have to stay up to date all the time with events and stuff, you don't want to be doing 4 different characters worth of events all the time. You're going to get so burnt out unbelievably quickly, regardless of how different their gameplay is. There's no way you can't. And that's honestly, it's the thing I like the least about this game, is that you can't spend that much time on that many characters. It takes way too much time. Moving on to something also incredibly grindy is the equipment system. Now, the equipment system is what I'd consider like more old school gacha style, where the game just has a ton of different equipments to throw at you to make your character better. And there's a ton of stats, and it's very Diablo-esque, and it's a lot. But for players that want to dive into it, there's a lot here. Unfortunately, a little bit cheeky. It's one of those games where you waste resources if you fail, which I don't love. But, you know, it keeps you busy, it keeps you grinding, and it keeps you coming back. If you're one of those players that adores grinding for gear, the game might just have your interest. And if you're only doing it for one character, it's not so bad. If you're doing it for all four, I wish you the best of luck. You're going to need it. In terms of like stages and stuff, there's a few different options. You've got, you know, you've got your levels, which you've already done. You've got story sections, which you have to progress through to get to the next section. This is, you know, pretty standard. Just grind out as much as you possibly want. I will say it should be obvious I am using a controller for this. I've not tried the PC controls. I'm using PS5 controller. It feels identical to the PS5 version, ironically enough. It's almost as if it's designed that way. But I'm sure with an Xbox controller it wouldn't feel any different. But it does feel really good on controller. It does take a little bit of getting used to, but I think that was just me not getting it to begin with. But after like a dedicated half an hour, I was like, okay, I get it now. Mobile controls, kind of hard to talk about when you're playing on PC. Mobile controls, honestly, mobile controls also feel really good to play. I've had no complaints about the mobile controls. Hell, there was even a point in time where I was like, actually, the mobile controls might be better. The game is definitely very much playable on mobile. Whether I'd say it's still better to play on mobile, I definitely don't think I would agree with that sentiment. If you're a mobile only player, you're not missing out in the slightest, so do not worry. The game is very playable on mobile. This is what a typical stage looks like. You just go through stages, killing pretty much everything fairly easily. I mean, I'm very much into the beginning of the game, so there really isn't a lot of challenge to be had, especially if you got lucky enough with some of your pulls. I know there is a YouTube video out there of a bloke that did, I think, the reroll guide for this game, because there are some phantoms that just are objectively very good. You can actually like go through the reroll process fairly quickly. I didn't bother because I'm honestly not that fussed. And the game also gives you this scroll where you can actually pick which phantom you want anyway. And if you want one of the really good ones, which just summons like a massive robotic mechanical creation that does a ton of damage while also tanking hits for you, you can just pick it from the slot. One thing I've failed to mention is the Shai Chi? In the top left on stages, there is a little bar called Shai Chi. The way Shai Chi works is that you have skills like this one, which gives you +1 whenever you use it, and then you have skills like these, which will minus it depending on how it goes. Gaining Shai Chi, you gain a passive bonus. The more Shai Chi you have, the bonus will be in the top left. I think it's just damage and shield break percentage it gives you. You can use your skills and consume the Shai Chi. If you don't consume the Shai Chi, it's not a big deal. You just don't get the added bonus that comes with it. But if you've used a skill and it requires like 2 Shai Chi to use, for instance this one, it will consume 2 Shai Chi points to greatly increase the damage and shield break of the last hit, elevating total damage to 360% of attack. So obviously with any gacha, you can, you know, pretty standardly upgrade your phantoms as and when needed. There you go, boom, level 26. I think it did slightly more damage. You can also advance it, which I've not done before, so we're just gonna do it and find out what happens. So I think advancing is just a flat bonus. I don't see it doing anything else. Let's see what happens. Not much else. It just flat bonus by the looks of things. I believe this is for duplicates, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have a good way of testing it because I don't think I have a good way of testing it. What we'll do is we'll go for some more pulls and we'll see if we can get some duplicates. So the thing is, you can only have one of the same phantom equipped anyway. So if you do get duplicates, it isn't really a loss because you can't share it between characters and you can only have the one. I forgot this existed because I've not had it happen to me yet. You can also get what is essentially a shiny version of a phantom. I don't 100% know what the shiny version does. I think it's just for bragging rights. Let's actually have a look at what that phantom is and if it's like a vast improvement. It is actually an improvement. Okay, so if you do have the shiny version, it is technically just a better version. Just even though it's 0.2%, I imagine that scales as you level. So if we go to, I don't know, level 4 with this guy, so 7.9, and then we'll do the same with this one. Go to level 4. Go to 7.7. Okay, so it's still a 0.2%, but I don't know if, you know, it scales more and more as time goes on. But I love that. I love there's such a unique addition, whether it means you'll be selling a left kidney to get as many pulls as you possibly can, I don't know. But we're going to keep going just because summoning's fun. I don't know if the game has a pity system. It might be the like industry standard of get to 80 and then you're guaranteed your 6-star. I just don't know, unfortunately. Evil healer, I'll take. Sure, we'll do it again. I'm not too fussed about saving. I will say one thing about the cards. It reminds me of Warframes, where all of your cards, or at least your good cards, from what I remember, have like moving 2D art. And yeah, it's nothing amazing or nothing spectacular, but it's such a nice like extra addition. So we didn't actually get any duplicates, so I can't really test it, but I suspect that's what the flame is if you get a second copy, you can fuse it into it and then you duplicate it. Forgot to mention that as you're going through the story, as you go through leveling, you do gain access to more of your combo bar. So you get a new one at 40, an extra one at 50, and then 99 and 99. There's also perception, so you can't actually have everything synced up as early as possible. You do have to keep in mind that the more expensive a phantom is, the more perception it requires to actually equip, so do keep that in mind as you're building. But you know, it's something that eventually won't really matter, because I'm sure that once you get to, you know, endgame levels, you'll have enough perception to equip whoever the hell you want, but at that point you're probably going to need it anyway. So oh, there's also this, which I completely forgot to talk about. It is the AI dungeon. I don't really know how else to call it. It's this, where you can basically team up with friends, or you can just grab a random stranger's AI and they will help you out on a little dungeon. It's just a fun little extra, and it can make some of the more challenging content a little bit easier. So this dude clearly has a summoner's build, which I'm absolutely all for. So this is the like tank thing, by the way, which supposedly is really strong. It goes by the name of Deus Ex, if you want to know the name of it. Fun fact is you don't actually really need to reroll anymore, because the game does just give you a couple of these scrolls which you can find in your inventory. And you can literally just pick and choose which 4-star you want. Yeah, they can sort of 4 stars. You can just pick which one you want. And Deus Ex is the second one, but you can't summon for some reason on the main screen. So that's the AI dungeon. It's, you know, if you want a bit of extra fun, it's there. It's an option. It's to help you grind. And it can make things a little bit easier. And, you know, it's fun. I will say one thing I think that's kind of attracted me to this game so much is that it reminds me of 2 side-scroller RPGs that you can't play anymore, that upsets me very greatly, in the form of the first one being Caligo Chaser. Shout out to anyone who recognizes that name, by the way. It is a very, very old and dated side-scroller beat-em-up RPG back when iOS mobile games were so very new to the landscape. Absolutely adored that game. Never got to finish it. Very gutting. And then the second one, which is more gacha based, is the incredible, and admittedly it was very, what's the word I want to use? Expensive? Time consuming? It was a lot, shall we say. It was BlazBlue. BlazBlue is a franchise I have just always adored. So when they came out with a mobile game, I jumped on it because essentially it just makes you play it like a fighting game while also being just a side-scroller beat 'em up. So it gives you the satisfaction of being good at fighting games without any of the skill, which is honestly what I'm here for half the time. And it felt so very good to play. And it was a game that it was probably one of the very few mobile games I'd sunk just a ton of time into for a very long time. That was way before Genshin's day or any of Hoyoverse's properties. And I adored that game. But it was very, very predatory because it was one of those games where you have VIP levels and all that extra nonsense, and it was a game where if you ever stopped playing, you were pretty much out of the loop because, you know, some of the best players already had some of the best gear, and it was a lot. But the main gameplay loop was absolutely fantastic. And that's what got me into it into the first place. And that is exactly the same as this game. The gameplay loop is very easy to get to grips with and figure out, but there's a lot of sort of nuance and enjoyment under the hood, shall we say. And it just makes me want to keep playing. And it's super easy to just play without thinking about for the most part, at least for the time being. A lot of the time with games like this, I can't really run them in the background while talking because my brain will just not figure out what I'm doing. But today seems to be alright. But yeah. The combat's really fun. Honestly, that's all I really need to say. The combat is just really fun. It's very engaging. It's very easy to get to grips with. It's not something you need to spend a ton of time on, even though admittedly you definitely could. I still resent the fact that you kind of have to do everything for every single character. I get having to do a good portion of each character, that makes perfect sense, but like the battle pass for each character, the events for each character, I mean, come on, that's way too much time investment. For instance, if I want to get the event skin for Soul and her, I'm going to have to do all of his stuff, and then I then have to go and do all of hers, and then by the time that's finished, I'm going to be so burnt out, I'm not going to want to do the other characters, because quite frankly, I'm not going to do the other characters because it takes too long. But yeah, the main gameplay loop of the game is fantastic, and I am really enjoying it, and I hope to see more from this game. I really hope it isn't just one of those games that they just put out and then they don't improve and then they just leave it there. I would really like to see where this game stands in a few months, and hopefully it's improved even more and made things even smoother, or made things more interesting or more complex, or I'd really like to see where this game ends up. I don't want it to just be like a flash in the pan gacha that we get all the time, but you know, that's always a risk. Yeah, I thought I'd talk about it because honestly not a lot of people have, and I feel like they're missing out because the game is really enjoyable. Even if you play it for a week, at the very least, you had a good time with the combat, I will say that much. Anyway, I think that's all I really have to say on the matter. Hopefully you enjoyed. Give Phantom Blade Executioners a try. It's free, it's fun, and the game gives you a fair amount at the beginning. From what I've played, the game's fairly generous. No complaints, other than the weird character situation. Still don't get that, but that's just me. Anyway though, thank you for sticking around to the end. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if you're going to give the game a go yourself, or if you've been trying it, and let me know how you've been finding it. With that though, I must say my goodbyes. I have been James, the Mayor of Jamestown, and until next time, goodbye.